Hi, and welcome to Chem 1115, Chemistry and Society, Chapter 9, Notes, Lecture Video. Don't forget to still go read the chapter as well as these notes to help you prepare for the exam and for the quiz. All right, so in Chapter 9, we're talking about polymers and plastics. And polymers and plastics are a major part of your life, whether or not you recognize it. So there's a lot to talk about in this chapter. Here's a reflection that you're going to be doing on your own. So we've got to begin with some definitions first. A polymer is a large molecule, and another word for a large molecule is called if you don't know it, macromolecule. So another word for a large molecule is a macromolecule. Polymers are large molecules made up of long chains of atoms covalently bonded together. So that means they're bonded to each other by sharing electrons. And polymers are made of monomers, mono meaning one, and meros meaning unit, so one unit. So monomers are the small molecules that make the polymer. So for instance, if you get a whole group of paper clips and link them all together and make yourself a necklace, the paper clip would be the monomer and the necklace would be the polymer. Or if you make a necklace out of beads, the beads would be the monomers and the necklace would be the polymer. So here are some natural polymers. You have a natural polymer right now. Your DNA is a natural polymer. The monomers are these nucleic acid, and so they get put in repeating arrangement. And then you actually have two strands of DNA, right? But the DNA single strands are all polymers made of monomers. Proteins are also naturally occurring polymers. The monomer in a protein is called an amino acid. So this is just a cartoon version of it, okay? Amino acids are not really little circles, okay? Just so you know. They are much more complicated looking than just little circles, but for the sake of this figure, they are being represented as little circles, but each amino acid is the monomer and they link together to form a polymer. And so when we talk about naturally occurring polymers, you can talk about any protein. Any protein would work as a polymer. DNA would work as a natural polymer. RNA would work as a natural polymer. All of those are naturally occurring polymers that you are using right now. Other polymers in nature, cellulose. So that is the primary structural component of plants for their stems and all that good stuff. Starches, and that's the primary storage molecule, macromolecule for plants. Tar, shellac, animal shells and horns, tree saps, okay, all of those are naturally occurring polymers as well. And then those natural polymers began to be modified to make lots of materials, and one of the first ones was rubber. Okay, so we've already talked about hydrocarbons. A hydrocarbon is a molecule composed only of hydrogen and carbon, as the name implies. And I've already said this, they're macromolecules because they involve thousands of atoms. And so when we're talking about man-made polymers, which are also known as synthetic polymers, they are primarily composed of hydrocarbons. So these are all composed of hydrocarbons. This is a polymer, and it's actually called polyethylene. And there are lots of other polymers we're going to talk about in this lecture too. But just so you know, synthetic means it's been created in a lab, okay? Whereas natural means it occurs in the environment. So naturally occurring polymers are the things that your body makes or that are made in nature. And synthetic polymers are polymers that are lab created, such as this plastic. So polyethylene, the monomer is this molecule right here, two carbons bonded to each other, and each carbon has two hydrogens. When it polymerizes, it's just carbons and hydrogens repeating over and 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 over. And that one's called polyethylene. Now, you've probably heard these terminologies before, LDPE and HDPE. So polyethylene bags, containers, etc. The LD stands for low density, and the HD stands for high density, and then PE stands for polyethylene. So these little numbers here, when you see your recycling label, tell you how to recycle that material and also what it is. So the next time you're looking at a plastic, you can look and see what it is and explain to your friend, whoa, LDPE, that stands for low density polyethylene. What's the difference between LDPE and HDPE? It is how those molecules are linked up. So in high density polyethylene, they are in chains. So notice that's what makes it high density, because these stack on top of each other, like nice and neat, like noodles, like spaghetti noodles, right? They can just lay on top of each other, boom, 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 so they can become very dense. Whereas in low density polyethylene has branches. It's a branched molecule, so they can't stack on each other as thick as a high density can. And so that's why it's low density. That's where it comes from. So high density is more rigid, it's stronger, and it has a higher melting point because of the way that those two molecules, those two polymers, one's branched, one's linear, but they both have the same chemical composition. Okay, so your book talks about the big six. The big six are the 6 most common synthetic polymers, and they account for about 75% of the plastics that are used in the world. And so on your homework, I know because I just wrote your homework, there are questions in here that ask you which types of the big 6 are used for which kinds of things. So this in your notes would be quite handy to have while you're working on your homework set. HDPE, LDPE, polyvinyl chloride, PVC for short, polystyrene, PS for short, polypropylene, PP for short, and polyethylene tetraphthalate, PET for short. So you've probably seen PVC in plumbing, hoses, that sort of thing. Polystyrene has a brand name, styrofoam, that is a brand name, but polystyrene is the polymer. Polypropylene will be used in these kinds of applications, and PET is used in these kinds of applications. And so these are all called thermoplastics. I need to bold that. It's an important definition. They can be melted and reshaped over and over again. And that vocabulary word comes up in your homework as well. So thermoplastic, thermo means heat. So thermoplastics can be melted and reshaped. So in the big 6, all of them but PET are very, very, very similar. The only difference is what's right here. There's ethylene, vinyl chloride, propylene, and styrene. So when you look at those, the big 6, oops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the first 5 all differ just by one tiny little mistake. There's one little tiny little area. And then PET is obviously the different one. So let's talk about some of these in more detail. PVC is the first one. And again, I'm not going to make you draw this. I'm not going to make you memorize the monomer, but just so that you're aware. There's polystyrene. This has an aromatic ring in it, and it's just every other one. Again, I'm not going to make you memorize what the monomer is or be able to draw it or anything like that, just for your knowledge. And I've already said this, thermoplastics are polymers that can be melted and reshaped, but other plastics are thermosetting. That means that once they're set, they're done. So you wouldn't want the soles of your shoes to melt while you're running on a hot track. That would not be good, right? So other plastics that are thermosetting, they can't be melted and reshaped, whereas thermoplastic ones can be. Polyester is something I'm sure most of you are familiar with. When you replace when you use an ester to connect the monomers, we call it a polyester. And a lot of these are clothings, right? Nylon is the first substitute for silk. How about that? And again, I'm not going to make you memorize these things, but nylon is a polymer as well. And I'm sure you've heard this since you were in probably the 3rd grade or so. Reduce, reuse, recycle. And then you may not have heard the 4 R's, recover, either the materials or the energy content. See, so there are actually 4 R's, not 3 R's. All right, this is a question I'm I'm almost certain is on your homework, so I wanted to go over it. Just be able to interpret a pie chart, right? This pie chart is on your homework. I know because I just wrote your homework. And so there are questions on your homework asking you how to interpret this kind of thing. So recycling rate. This is the total, and this is the percent that are actually getting recycled. Right? So looking at that by year. And again, these are some data for you to look over. I'm not going to make you memorize how many million pounds of HDPE were recycled in 2016, but just to give you an idea of which types of plastic get recycled most. And this is also showing that same information. What gets recycled the most? So giving you a breakdown of that. There are also plastics that you can make from renewable materials. And so maybe you've seen these in clothes and things. It'll say, oh, this shirt is made from 50 recycled bottles or something like that. Polymers originating from renewable sources also exist. So these are some examples. And the neat thing about them is they're compostable. That means that they can be broken down by living things, by microorganisms. They use fewer resources, don't contain nasty nasty chemicals, and they can be converted back to monomers, some of them, and remade. Now, the last thing that this chapter talks about is called a plasticizer. Need to bold that word because that's a vocab word. A plasticizer is something that's added to a plastic, but it's not part of the actual polymer. Okay, so it's added to the plastic matrix, and it makes your final product softer or more pliable, or gives it a particular purpose that you want. And so the problem with them is that they can leach out of the plastic over time. So the pros would be you'd make your product softer, make it more pliable, give it whatever physical property you want. But some of the cons can be that those additives can come out. And so phthalates have been one of the classes of molecules that have been under scrutiny lately because they are suspected endocrine disruptors. So that means they disrupt your endocrine system, so all of your hormones. So there's not been any super conclusive research on them like BPA, but in precaution, they've been banned from certain types of materials that plastics will be used for. So like children's toys and plastic bottles and that sort of thing. So, it's always acting on precaution if you don't know for sure what the effect might be. So that's where we're going to stop for today for chapter 9. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me via email, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.